Please go ahead, sir. We are live now.
Good afternoon to all of you. I am Jadev Sharma, Head Metal and Mining from ASSOCHAM. It is my privilege to welcome you all in today's webinar on drone in mining. I'm sure participants will be immensely benefited from today's deliberation. With this word, I would request Mr. Minal to moderate the session. Over to you, Minal. Thanks. Minal, unmute, please.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks, Mr.
Yes.
Jaydev. Good afternoon, one and all who has joined the session. Today we have an esteemed panel present with us to discuss on about drones in mining. To introduce myself quickly, I am Rinal. I am one of the co-founders of Skylark Drones. We are an India-based drone software company where we provide drone data-based insights for the mining industry. In the panel today, we have Mr. Ajit Sahu. Ajit Sahu is the Chief Exploration and Technology of Vedanta. He's an expert in managing both greenfield, brownfield mineral explorations, who has worked in the past extensively in India and Australia. Mr. Ajit Sahu has had an incredible professional journey, starting as a field geologist to serving in the board of Rio Tinto Exploration in India. Welcome, Mr. Ajit Sahu. Yeah. Next, we have Mr. Piyush Srivastav. Mr. Piyush Srivastav took over as the chief of Tata Steel's Natural Resources Division in June of 2019. He has over 33 years of experience in working in both open cast and underground mines, starting greenfield mining projects, mine planning, mine economic valuation required for the end-to-end mine operations. Mr. Srivastav is instrumental in Tata Steel adopting new technologies like drones. Welcome, Mr. Srivastav, to the discussion. Next, we have Mr. D.S. Jire. Mr. Jire is the Director of Geology, Remote Sensing and Aero Geophysical Survey at Geological Survey of India. Geological Survey of India being the oldest one such organizations in the world, a scientific agency founded way back in 1851. Welcome, Mr. Jire, to the discussion. Next, we have Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. Mr. Rajneesh Kumar is the General Manager at CMPDI. He is responsible for application of remote sensing, GIS, and survey-related technology across the coal industry, you can say. He's also the head of department geomatics at Coal India and has over 35 years of experience in the industry. Welcome, Mr. Rajneesh. Before we get into the discussion with the panel, for the sake of setting the context here about this topic, I would allow to walk through a few slides before we get into the discussion. So, before we get into the topic of technology and drones in the mining industry, I just wanted to quickly walk through the common issues across the life cycle of a mine, right? We're probably talking about blasting to start with. Measuring the bench geometry before and after blasting is essential part of any mining exercise. The traditional methods are slow, and we believe there is a lot of technology interference that can happen to kind of make blasting more efficient, right? And an extension of that being overall volumes. Today, historically, there have been not too accurate means of then estimating across the earthwork that happens in a mine, and then comes in also transport, right? Where across material movement in a mine, the systems to even design this use say satellite imagery and things like that, which we believe is a concern today, which technology intervention can provide more efficiencies in. Tracking topography, I think generally, uh, uh, since mining sites are quite dynamic in nature and quickly, the terrain changes quite quickly, there needs to be constant data coming in, right? Be it in terms of surveys, surveillance technologies that can help track topography. Lease boundaries, I think given the number of lease grants that have been being given over the last few years, and the expanse in terms of the mine as such, having a monitoring, having an eye over your own mining lease as such becomes more important, and there are gaps today in terms of how it's being monitored, and say hydrology, right? When periodically the monsoons and at that point inundations that occur, right? How best to handle drainage and things like that. So a few topics that that we've kind of uh, understood over the last few years, where technology intervention, specifically what drones can then provide in mining, right? I think drones in mining was at a validation stage a few years ago, but I think it's crossed that validation stage, and now we have seen the early adoption happen of drones across the life cycle of a drone, right from even from exploration phase to operations and even at closure, right? So the tangible value that drones as a technology that bring into mining has crossed that early adoption phase. We have reached a stage where now we are seeing a larger, faster, quicker adoption happening of drones in mining. Drones in general, I think commercial applications of drones have picked up drastically in the last 5 years. I think the story of Indian drone regulations, I think, is a testament to that, right? I think 2014 drones as a device was banned for operations, to cut to 2022 now, where we have something called Digital Sky, which is a simple, seamless portal for anyone to register their drone, just like a car, right? Where you have a registration number, you have an operator license, and then you operate this, right? So it's become as simple as that, and I think that's a recognition to what drones, the technology, have been doing for across multiple industries, and we believe that mining in specific has a lot of value that it can uncover from this technology. Advantage of drones primarily that it's highly accurate, right? You are getting spatial three-dimensional data which is highly accurate. It increases productivity because click of a button it can do probably what the same activity would take 5x the more manpower and 3x the more time as such, right? And it's scalable, it's direct cost saving, and most importantly it is safer, right? You are not risking operations because the drone is far away from where the riskier topography is. I think generally, if you then look at the problems that I mentioned in the earlier slide to what drones do, one tangible input that drones do is managing earthworks, right? Right from source to stockpiling, right? Where uh, across earthwork management at the blasting site to the production pits to during transport at the stockpiling, where drones give earthwork management insights. Drones are bringing in safety insights to what a mine looks like, right from haul road safety to other safety prescriptions by say a DGMS, and drones become a great tool to monitor safety that's present in a mine, and also compliance, right? We've also recently seen the Mining Act amendment, the rules amendment, kind of now mandating drone surveys for a certain size of drones and above. So I think, and generally I think across updating surface plans and other compliance requirements, drones bring in that kind of rich data set to enable for that, right? And I think across in the market, I think that we've seen evolution of the drone as a hardware and also and software tools, like what we do at Skylark, where we build software to enable drone operations, right? So that's the quick overview that I wanted to share, where drones as a technology is kind of, you can say, disrupting the way mining operations and mining data collection in mining, right? Insight generation in mining is being transformed. So with that, let's dive into the panel discussion then. Uh, I would like to start with Mr. Sahu, right? Mr. Sahu, I think would love to understand your point of view on overall how mining operations, right from exploration to operations, how has it advanced in the last 5 years, for example, and how do you see this changing in the next 10 years, right? Whole technology penetration in mining.
Thank you, Mrinal. Am I audible, gentlemen?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, great, great. Good
Yes.
morning, all, and good afternoon, if just in case somebody joining from overseas. So thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk. I will talk my mind. Um, I am a geologist by training, and I have been driving exploration in companies and following up with the government bodies on technology that can help exploration and mining. So what I believe is that any technology that makes the operation, the life of a geologist or mining engineer safe, and if it is cost effective for the business, and therefore the productivity and scalability is something, if it can deliver, then that is there to stay, to prosper. And I have no doubt that a drone is such a technology which definitely is making life smarter, easier, safer, and productive. That's something I strongly believe. And I was reflecting before coming here, an article that I read probably 5-6 years ago, how in exploration or mining the drones are going to be used. And I can already feel how it has actually penetrated, and I have seen outcomes of that in terms of tangible productivity outcome, and the data that gets generated is definitely fantastic data. But having said that, there is a long way that it needs to travel and evolve as a technology where its impact on greenfield exploration, where the greenfield discoveries are made. The easier ones have been discovered. The less easier ones, mineral discovery I'm talking here, is yet to be made. And if I draw a kind of parallel, if we go back to 1960s and 70s, the exploration discovery, mineral discovery, there are a lot many discoveries happened because of use of helicopter. Earlier good old days, the mapping, the surveys, the deployment of technologies, whether it is geophysics or surface, where less accessible, less more time consuming, but helicopter made life easier. So in future going forward, drone is going to take that place. And there is I'm privy to few geophysical surveys where people are not very comfortable in terms of sorry, I was using my I'm using my mobile phone. Somehow the internet got dropped. So am I audible? So far so good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I would like to see some breakthrough happening in greenfield exploration, use of drone in greenfield, where the inaccessible become accessible for a geologist. The difficult terrains are traversed and surveys, the geochemistry, the photogrammetry, everything becomes more efficient and more accessible. That is something I will be watching that space. I haven't seen any breakthrough or case studies where drone helped find a mineral deposit yet. But I'm hearing a lot of appreciable and transformational drone aided activities happening in say agriculture sector, where new forests are being created, new um, paddies are getting the desired pesticides done over it. All that is happening, which used to take kind of weeks to months. They're being done in hours and days. So that's the potential. The miniaturization of the flying machine is going to help. So I'm also thinking loud and wild here, where we know the forest, uh, the strategic minerals that may be um, inaccessible and covered in forest. If they are so important for the country's development, then probably the tree top uh, sampling that gets done, where the old forests, there are case studies where the old forest, um, the surveys, the metallic content of tall trees in the in the few parts, where if we can collect, and then the discoveries can be made. Those kind of things can be done without much of invasion, and without damaging the ecology so much. So, and then when it comes to brownfield, the operations, the mining operations, the surveys that gets done, Renal touched on those things. They have made significant progress, and they are being embraced by the operators, and they are working pretty nicely. And I'm sure much can be done in a connected world, and the data can fit to the resource model online, and then the physical verification of stocks and reconciliations, um, and safer operation is something can be monitored, uh, which is very important. And your lease is your strategic asset. You don't want to do anything wrong, so that the compliances or the um, inadvertent activities makes it difficult to operate. Drone is going to help for sure in all these fields. So I would like to, as I said, like to see the technology getting to a stage where it actually makes impact in discovery of mineral deposits. That would be really nice.
Right,
Nirina.
right. I completely second your point of view, Mr. Sahu. I think the whole idea of where drones are today with exploration in particular, I think are early days, but I think it's very exciting, the idea of drones being able to do that. With that, I would like to move on to Mr. Piyush sir. Piyush sir, I think has been a pioneer in adopting drones in mining, and Piyush sir would love to know your point of view on how do you see drones, what has been your experience.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Uh, uh, Minalu covered most of the points. I would like to, share some of the challenges that I am facing while implementing the technology. So I would like to share those things with you. So we all know that drones can create the point cloud data, and from there point cloud data you can create DTM, DEM, contours, the stockpile measurements, all that we all know, and it is being done by so many operators, and there are so many software for the same. But what is more important is drone gives you a means to capture the data. Okay, so that is the limitation. That is the limited use of drones. Drones can also carry the laser cameras, and drones can also carry the multispectral cameras. So what I think Mr. Ajit Saha was talking about, he was talking about use of multispectral cameras more for the geophysical part, where drones can also carry certain instrument and then interpretation of the data. Of course, when we have the photo, the forest cover, sometimes photogrammetry doesn't help. So maybe laser camera or some other multispectral cameras are better options. Now coming back to the mining scenario, to my mind, it's not the drones which is the most important thing, but it is the how we use the software. Those photogrammetry software, to my mind, we are using Pix4D, 3D correlator, or context capture, and there are so many other software. Those software also have limitations. Okay, so it is the combination of softwares which will give you the solutions. For example, we are using ArcGIS very extensively along with the point cloud data to create the land use plans. Now, the contours that you generate from the drone survey, from those contours, you can create water flow diagrams using certain modules of the ArcGIS. That becomes very powerful in that case. Using ArcGIS and the orthomosaic at the background as not as the satellite imagery background, create, from that orthomosaic background and superimposing that on the, as a background in ArcGIS, then you can create a very powerful land use plans. So sometimes I wonder what is preventing the government of India or the IBM or other ministries. We are still in that regime where there's a permission kind of thing, but monitoring actually becomes more important, and monitoring requires some use of technology. And so if that technology can be used, and I really feel that the regulatory bodies should move from permission to monitoring. So that there was some 10 years back, there was a white paper on the same from the PMO office. But then that we are not moving in that regime like we see in the West or in the Australia or US, where monitoring is very strong and not so much the permission. So permission comes from self-declaration, from following certain guidelines. Permission is given, but monitoring becomes more important. And for monitoring, more than the users, also for the government, these are very, very effective means. Monitoring means use of technology. So even so, for example, if there is a blasting, we want to understand what is the quality of the blast. One is we use this high resolution images from the drone. Also, the air can be taken through certain instruments, and we can understand the amount of ammonia or SO2 in that air blast. And from that, we can also understand the quality of blast. Coming to some of the challenges that we are facing. One of the challenges, the point cloud data that we generate through photogrammetry software is a very, very heavy data. Something like 5 square kilometer, one orthomosaic could be 30 GB, 40 GB, and that point cloud data file itself may be 50, 60 GB. And now to process the data for when there are images from multiple flight paths, and then you do triangulation and then aero triangulation, and then when you try to create the orthomosaic, the current software, the speed is the limit. Sometimes it takes us few days to process the data. Then one of the challenges, can we have a hub and spoke kind of thing where we use multiple machines or workstations in tandem to process the data? Or other thing could be use the software which are which can work on the cloud. For example, Bentley has got in Paris, they can process the data on the cloud. They have multiple machines or very high capacity processing there, but then it's very costly. Okay, if you use a normal workstation and try to process this kind of data, it is not going to work. So you need high-end machines, and that two machines working in tandem. And that then also comes the problem of transferring data. Today, with a normal 4G network, uh, transferring the data from the chip that comes out of the drone to the machine, and in our system where the chips are not allowed, I mean, we can't use these are very secured systems that we have. We have to transfer data only through secured means. In that case, we are now trying to build up a cloud space, and in the cloud space, we will have all these softwares. Um, then somebody who wants to view the output, say somebody wants to use the orthomosaic or want to see the 3D model, there has to be viewers. Now these viewer software also are for each individual, various photogrammetry software suppliers, they have their own viewer something. So can these things be worked out in an open platform? So we are trying to work with one or two Tata Group companies to create a platform where the output can be seen by anybody. So creating some middleware where the viewership can be done irrespective of whether you have those software or not. So there are few people who needs to create, but there are many people who needs to monitor. So the GM of the area, he would like to see the mine, how does it look? He may like to see the land use plans. He may like to see the water flow diagrams, but he may not have the software. He need not have the software. So can we create certain viewers and it can be uploaded in the server or on the cloud where he can see, and he can also do the small measurements himself. So development of those kind of software is very important. And also integration between the mining software and the the point cloud data, that is also required. So can I import the point cloud data into the, say, Serpac or Binex, and I can make that I can sort of update my model from the real data, which is the current data. Normally, you update the model once you have the more exploration data, more borehole data, or from the surface what you see, and whatever if it's a coal mine, maybe the certain faults which were not discovered earlier, you see the faults and you change the model accordingly, or from the logs that you see from the fresh boreholes, or from the face when you see the face from the whatever geological data that you get, you can update it by creating some dummy boreholes in the model and then updating the model itself. The other way is to make the model using UTM grids, and in the UTM grid, you directly import the data, the point cloud data, and update it. So that's a much faster way, and I think the resource model should always be in UTM or WGS84 and not in local grids. Many times, many companies, they use local grids. I think that should be stopped forthwith. If you have the data in local, the UTM, and you have the land use plans in UTM, then everybody will be using the same, framework. Then monitoring becomes easier for the regulatory bodies. Even for the mining bodies, it becomes easier to integrate the mining software and the mine planning software, and the photogrammetry software, or the these kinds of GIS or GIS technologies. So what we are trying to understand and trying to find solution is, how can I use Minix and Serpac or Spry to calculate the volumes? In saying coal mines, using this photogrammetry, so you can calculate the stockpiles. That's the easiest. Using calculation of volumes of the solid phases is a little challenging. It can also be done, but using the understanding the layer wise movement of the solid phases and the volumes on a monthly basis, that is not so easy. But if you can import the data in minutes and your model is updated from the resource model and from the profiles, the latest profiles of the crest and toe of the mine faces, you can actually calculate much faster. There are challenges. We are working on those challenges, how to create some middleware and APIs between these various softwares. So these softwares need to talk to each other. That's what we are trying. And hopefully in next few months, we should be able to find some breakthrough. And of course, the other area which is not talked about so often is this thing can also be used very powerfully in the land and R&R kind of thing. So encroachments can very easily be detected through having the drone-based data, because these are geo-stamped and these are time-stamped. So you can superimpose the the frames of various time zones to actually calculate the area and the movement in area, or the change in the Z value or the XY value. Those things can be done. And of course, project monitoring is also already being done through this drone. This is what I can think of as of now. Yes, the drones have to become more, the endurance time has to increase. They need to be, they need to be capable of using not just the RGB cameras, but the other kinds of special cameras. Those things can be done. Things will move better. And of course, this digital sky platform, I think, has to work more. There are a lot of glitches with that. I hope that improves, and then mining companies can become more tech savvy. The last challenge which I would like to say is the capability of the people. And of course, today I can do the much more accurate drone survey, and I can do somebody who's not a surveyor, somebody who just knows the software, somebody who just know how to use the DGPS instrument. He doesn't have the survey qualifications, but basic understanding of survey, he can do a much better job. And more we are finding surveyors, they are not, it's not easy for them to learn the software, because tomorrow's survey will be software based. How do we transform our surveyors to learn the software? That is a challenge which currently I am facing. I'm finding it much easier to use youngsters and train them, and then training a surveyor who is 45, 50 years old and learning the software is becoming a challenge for me. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Sir, I think thanks a lot for that extremely insightful and practical take on drones. I think from the concept of what drones can be used for to on field, what is the real challenges, especially I think the few points that you mentioned here, right, on the whole software piece is something I completely agree on, because drones is a means to capture data, right? What is needed is how do I convert that data into, say, updating my resource model, and that today is piecewise done by multiple softwares, done locally, done with people who are not probably skilled. So I think that practical take on how the whole workflow on top of the drones, the whole software stack, which is exactly what we do at Skylark as well, right? I think that's something that is thanks for sharing that. And also another point you brought up, which I would want to ask Mr. Rajneesh Kumar from CMPDI, is the whole regulator and the operator relation with the data here, right? I think while like Piyush said, why instead of permissions, probably this data can be used for monitoring, right? So as an operator, but keeping in mind of view of the regulators' potential application with this data, what is your take, sir? Generally, overall, I would love to understand your point of view on drones, but also your take on the regulator operator need of or use of this data.
Thank you so much, and I think Mr. Piyush Srivastava's insight and views on the things were such that the same problems and issues and challenges we are also facing at CMPDI. Although we have been into this drone package, what first I would like to answer about the regulations and the monitoring thing which you asked. I think there's very minimal regulation regarding drones now in the country, and we are thankful for our government for the good initiatives like have yeah, very green and red areas where these drones can be operated and where it cannot be operated. Are you getting me? It's saying, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Hello?
We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Hello? Were you able to hear me? What I was telling?
Yes, sir. We could hear you.
The images are just going on blinking.
Yeah, there seems to be some
So,
connection problem. Yeah, but we can hear you.
hello. Okay. So in CMPDI also we have been always our endeavor was to introduce latest technologies at the moment. Every time it comes, in fact, we were the first to introduce TLS surveys in the country, like from 2006 onwards itself. We introduced terrestrial laser scanners for measurements, and basically the principle is same about generating a point cloud and then going on through the scanning methods. So this was what we did. So now I think there is hardly any regulation about flying the drones, because small category drones you need to have certain regulations, but below that, less small nano and micro category, there is no regulations at all. For small categories, there you have a well-defined system in digital sky where it is totally defined where you can fly the drones and where you cannot fly. Even if there are red zones, then DGCA is very open to provide permissions into that if you provide them the full information and data about that. Does it answer my your question, sir?
Right, sir. But I was also asking the regulator in the sense of the mining regulator, because there has also been a mining rule now which says that drone data needs to be uploaded. So I was coming also from the mining regulator's point of view, while the operator has a lot of benefit.
Mining regulator may above the ground when you are operating the drones, there is no only this DGCA rules and guidelines you have to follow, and administrative whatever is their restrictions, then you have to follow. Regarding use of drones in underground mines, then certainly you need to have DGMS clearance for that one. Because recently we have faced that we were trying to introduce some drone scanning in the underground mines, and for that DGCA regulation is of course needed, and you have to have another thing is that flame proof equipment also certified.
The point I was mentioning, I think probably what Mrinal was saying, say the forest rules. Now the whole process of forest clearance, where it's a multi-layered process of getting the forest clearance. The forest clearance can be given, the user gives the land details, etc., georeference maps, everything, land use plans, and it can and even the tree counting can be done through the technology. The forest should take 2 months to give the permission, but after giving the permission, how you use the forest as per the mine plan, that needs to be monitored. So what is happening right now, the monitoring does not happen so much, but permission takes huge amount of time. So I think regulators need to adopt the technology to give very quick permissions, and then the onus of complying to the plan remains with the users. The regulator has to become more focused on monitoring. That is the right way of going about, to my mind. I give example of forest, but it can be through for environment, for the IBM, for the coal controller office, all those. The focus has to become using technology for monitoring and giving expeditious permissions.
Right, sir. Mr. Rajneesh, what's
Yes,
your
what permission you are talking about, sir? For permission from which agency?
Say forest clearance. How much time do you think it takes to get the forest clearance?
Stage about because I am basically not into environment department. I am from geomatics department. But a rough idea, I think about 6 to 7 months maybe it may be taking.
It can take anything from 3 years to 10 years also. So
maybe depending on whatever are the issues there.
So even land acquisition process is a very tedious process. All these processes, technology can be used to expedite things.
Certainly.
For using technology, the regulator or there's a problem of talent, and there's a problem of using technology on the regulatory side.
No, in fact, what you are talking about a little back, that about this land acquisition issues. Okay, so this we are doing since 2014 itself. Supreme Court had given an instruction about some area which was being acquired in Mahanadi Coalfields Limited, because there were a lot of illegal structures coming up in that area. So they gave us instruction to MCL to get this study done from CMPDI, and we did that study based on high resolution satellite data. On there, about thousands of structures which were illegal, we successfully eliminated them. So that was one thing. And now similar study we have done in NCL through drones. So we have acquired the data, we superimposed the cadastral map, and on each and every plot, the buildings and structures which were there was identified and then accounted for. So this is what we have been doing on a regular basis in this coal mining industry. So apart from that, we have been trying to use drones, because we cannot use drones as such, because there are certain areas like volumetric calculations. So in many industries, volumetric calculations, what happened, just basically for estimation purpose of a volume, you can very well use. But here, when we are using for the purpose of making a payment, or for the purpose of on that volumetric calculation, you have a lot of questions maybe coming up from CBI or vigilance or whatever, because we being a government organization. So we have to first ensure how much is the variance of this technology as compared to the conventional methods, and until it is proved, then you cannot take up. So we have been trying to do this since long, and recently we undertook this study in private partnership also. So in that case, we generated a lot of data in WCL, in Southeastern Coalfields and Northern Coalfields Limited, to know the variance between the measurements done through 3D terrestrial laser scanner and the drone-based photogrammetric measurements. Because we also have a LiDAR on drones. We have a sophisticated 200-meter range LiDAR on the drones. But to our surprise, we are getting almost equal results in the photogrammetry also, which was actually in the papers or any literature, or through the informations which we get from the industry, it is said that the photogrammetric results are not so accurate as LiDAR. But to establish that, we took up this exercise. It was a massive exercise which was done through 3 subsidiaries of Coal India, and we have submitted the report to the Coal India, and it's giving almost same accuracy as we are getting from terrestrial laser scanners. I'm talking about photogrammetry. In LiDAR also, we have used LiDAR also, but it is there are certain problems in LiDAR also, in the drone-based volumetric calculations, but I think photogrammetry results are getting better. Now, similarly, we are also using drones for monitoring of air quality. Air quality in Southeastern Coalfields, which the project is already going on in private partnership. And there also we are finding that the results which we are getting for PM10, PM2.5 and SOx, NOx are very good. So the moment all these are established, then we will immediately be taking up, because already we have 2 sophisticated drones with CMPDI, and we are going to enlarge our capacity more, because we are getting a lot of jobs. Because CMPDI, as you know, is a service provider company, because we are providing technical support and services to Coal India as well, and to others also. So we are open to any kind of service. So I think in the drone area, in almost all type of applications, we are trying at the moment to establish the things so that there cannot be a question on the services which has been provided. Another area is about gas monitoring in our underground mines, which was just I was talking to, that there it needs a regulator's permission for using this equipment in the underground mines. So that we are also, I think we will be doing it very soon. Then also we have thermal sensors on the drone also. Now it is being used in Jharia coalfields for monitoring of, trying to monitor the exact spots where the underground fires are there. So we are currently, this project is going on, the drones are in the field in Jharia. So this will be good doing. We are also using drones for high resolution mapping for many purposes. Like, sir, you are talking about the import of the drone data into the Minex software. That also we have tried very successfully, and it can be very well imported to the Minex software for any kind of analysis by the mining department, opencast department. So these are the things which we are doing, and of course, one thing is very important, that we deploy the drones for various applications only when it is established and proved. Another one area is the subsidence monitoring. There also we are trying to see if it can work or not, because in Jharia coalfields or in EC and Eastern coalfields, there are a lot of areas which are under subsidence. So first you have to see, because drones cannot be used for, there are many people who come to tell you, and who will come to you and tell you that it is a real-time monitoring, but it's not a real-time monitoring. It has to depend on the various of drones. You can at the moment, unless and until it is a kind of a third drone. So in case of subsidence, it can happen anytime. So subsidence result, but I think the factor where the problem is there. Okay, so we are also trying to establish about measurement of slopes and height of dumps in Coal India through drones on a regular basis, so that disasters and failures can be prevented. So these are the things which we are doing in Coal India. So any questions about that? You are welcome to discuss this.
Sure, sir. Thanks. I think I'll ask questions again, but I think thanks for sharing those insights from your experience with drones, especially I think the photogrammetry versus laser scanner data. I think that's a question a lot of first-time users of drones have, whether is photogrammetry accurate or not.
I would like to add something also, because many these operators are coming, because here like Mr. told that survey education and training is also important part, and experience is also an important part, because now coming to survey you have only some kind of diploma courses or something. You cannot hire a very qualified surveyor from outside as an officer or something. So that is a problem there. So another thing is that we have observed that people who are from the drone industry, their calculation of knowledge, maybe to their lack of knowledge about the GCPs and all that, and how to correlate that point cloud data scan to other sources are different. Now we have, that was a lack of. Yes, no.
Yes, I think we had some connection problems in the end there, but I think we, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Point well taken, though. I think on the education of surveyor, and I think a drone service provider, a typical drone operator, is an operator of the hardware, but him understanding the domain, converting that data into what the end user needs in the right form, in the right accuracies, or right digitized form, or right, like Sir Piyush sir mentioned, the right software to consume. I think that's very key, and thanks for addressing those points. Next, I would like to move on to Mr. G. Ray, right? I think rather than just drones, I think at a slightly superset of that, in terms of spatial data, right? I think you've been involved in the exploration side of things, and would like to understand how much does spatial data play a role in exploration, and you think drones fit in there, or is it only the use case of having multiple sensors, a magnetic sensor, or is the sensor play the role for drones in exploration, or is there a role for spatial data equally? What's your take on that? Would be my question.
Thank you, Granal.
my other panel members. Lots of new information I could able to capture from the discussions. I would be mostly trying to speak about the mineral deposit discovery and the block development. Till the process of block development, Geological Survey of India is involved in it. So practically, when we look at the discovery process, first what we do is regional area is being scanned by geological mapping, aerogeophysical mapping, and geochemical mapping, and all these data sets they'll narrow down the area from about more than 10 to 15,000 square kilometer to about nearly in case of metallic deposits 100 square kilometer. In case of diamond, it will be around 700 to 1,000 square kilometer. Again, the same process of spatial geological data, geophysical data, and geochemical data we carry out with a higher resolution in these areas of 100 square kilometer. The moment when we capture more and more information on the all varieties of information, like the alteration studies to capture certain mineral deposits, high value, low concentration minerals, and the geochemical data from varieties of sample media, the soil, the water, and the bedrock lithology. Like that, the resolution increases when we narrow down the area. From 10 square kilometer, 100 square kilometer, 10 by 10 kilometer area, we narrow down most of our work towards block development. The moment when we discover a deposit there. That 1 by 1 square kilometer area, I find there is a very vital role for drone to play here. Because in 1 by 1 square kilometer area, what we need is 1:4,000 scale topographic mapping. And the second part, because the borehole planning, precise elevations are so important, the process of making topographic survey by using our regular total station, it takes lots of time in our government setup. It takes about one field season program to make a topographic survey, to make a detailed geological map, to make a alteration map interpreted with so many things, and to come out with some boreholes. So in the entire process, when I look at it, already we have acquired huge amount of geospatial data, which is suitable and termed as baseline geoscience data by our national aerogeophysical acquisition programs, geological mapping, and geochemical mapping. Now, the narrow down area, 10 by 10 square kilometer, here also I believe there is lots of scope to carry out still better high resolution magnetic survey and also the spectral survey. These two areas definitely drone will play a very key role. Um, So, like the iron alteration, the calcitic carbonate alterations, and also these are well picked up by our hyperspectral data. The moment when we look at it, we can understand a particular area for a particular mineral system, like iron oxide copper gold mineral system, or copper porphyry system, or epithermal system. Here, absolutely, I believe the drone will contribute, but the question is the small sized sensors and the duration time. Then only we can have better coverage. Many case studies I just gone through for getting prepared in exploration. In Quebec, yes, there is an excellent study. The small magnetometer of about 7.2 kilo would able to do a magnetic survey, total magnetic intensity map, and it was absolutely comparable with the ground magnetic survey. Repeatability was excellent. There was no any issue. Again, in India, CSIR and NJRI both they have done on a one mafic dike about 50 kilometers south of Hyderabad. It also worked very well. So I believe the magnetic survey, high resolution magnetic survey. Right now, we conduct the magnetic survey by deploying the teams on the ground. So acquisition of magnetic data with a profile separation of about 50 meter takes lots of time. Takes about at least more than 4 to 5 months with our my association with many projects. here, if we go for, and for a very small area, we cannot run the drones. For a small area, we cannot run our regular aeromagnetic fixed wing aircrafts. They require large area. For a smaller area, it is very expensive. So here, this technology is absolutely going to help us. It speeds the acquisition of magnetic data, and magnetic data is so powerful even in the cover terrain with the depth slicing and other algorithms and so many factors. We will be picking up the features up to the Curie depth, where we can see the conducive geological structural environment which can host mineralization, and also we can pick up certain material property which host mineralization. So, to my belief, after the baseline geoscience data generation and delineating the smaller areas for mineral targeting, especially the minerals very low concentration but having very high value like gold, rare earth element, copper, nickel. For these sort of minerals which leave the signature of hydrothermal alteration on the ground or with the regolith in situ soil, the drone will do a absolutely good job. But the smaller sensors, as I have seen some 2-3 magnetic sensors, they work very well. Like that way for radiometric sensor, which can pick up the gamma ray spectroscopy, thorium, uranium, potassium alterations also can be picked up. The overlay and integration of true color maps along with the alteration maps, hyperspectral data, and certain algorithms to capture the particular alteration to delineate these zones, they are going to play a very vital role. So, absolutely, I believe, and we are also going to work with CMPDI because already they are using. They are so. We need to come out with some more small pilot scale studies and test these methodology. If it picks up very well and we evolve the building of geospatial data with the integration layers and coming out with the drilling target, will speeden the entire process of discovery. And now the new discoveries are very difficult because all easily discoverable deposits, they are done with our previous methods. So this is one very important technology that our team is also working on it, as we are part of the Aerogeophysical Survey wing from Bangalore. We are very keen to develop. There is a team from CSIR Bangalore. They work with NGRI. That is one very special area that we need to look for. And also CMPDI, our friends, they are also using it. We will try to open a dialogue and try to pick up certain suitable area where we can test, we can fine tune the methodology. Certainly, it will give better scope to discover new deposits. Development, yes, for detailed mapping, topographic mapping on 1:4,000 scale. If it is comparable, it goes well, then it will satisfy UNFC classification as well as our mineral evidence content rule. The technology, yeah, at the beginning, always there are hitches, and it keeps going with collaborations and with some more pilot projects. This is what I believe.
Right, right. Thanks for sharing that insight. So, before we ask further questions to the panelists, I would ask the audience to post any questions that they have that they want to ask the panelists on the chat. I would definitely love to take that up and ask the panelists. Moving forward, I think Mr. Rajit Sahu, I would love to have your point of view on the same question I asked Mr. Jire on you know whether it's just aeromagnetic plane surveys now being done at a granular level with drones, or the overall geospatial data that drones can bring in terms of both visual or spectral data that the drones can capture. What's your take on these two kind of data that the drone can bring in? Any case studies that you are aware of? I think audience would love to hear that.
Yeah, look, in Vedanta, we did conduct a drone-aided magnetic survey. Not in India, it was in South Africa. We found that it's very good in terms of well-located data. It could be done, quite in a very small time period. Whatever the objective was set, they are met. But I also know that the quality, they're well located, but the quality of data was not that great. It could be because of the sensor that we had on board. So therefore, I need to go back to the team and ask, and get some detail that I need to do. But in terms of survey and one of the problem that we had in our mind in the beginning is that we may struggle to get well located data. So that was not the case. It turned out that it is good, but the quality of data in terms of what we measure in the magnetic survey was not that great. So that's one point. Then as Mr. Detre was pointing, drone definitely is going to give you better coverage, flexibility, and time sense wise, it will be quite wise to deploy. But and the alteration mapping, all of that is going to be quite handy to make a mineral discovery. At this point of time, I would like to understand, has GSI conducted any kind of alteration mapping using drone as yet, or
No, sir. We haven't used drone for alteration mapping. We use average data and the Astra data for alteration mapping. We haven't used it,
okay?
but yes, maybe we need to look for it.
Yes, and now I would like to just reflect, give my pointers on around the skill set, the surveyor skill set, the gap. The what I'm finding is it is an industry-wide viewpoint and problems. I'm privy to some of the initiatives that companies like Rio Tinto have taken in Australia, where the young GETs and who have the right kind of mindset, they play a lot, the joystick, and that kind of, they also enjoy that bit, and they are being developed in that way. When you go to Rio Tinto website also, you'll find how they are trying to attract people to get into these kind of jobs, and it seems it is working there. So something like that should be done and could be done in our country as well by our, and there is always a what I believe, in terms of regulation in our country, we are too cautious, but which is good. But having said that, there has to be onus on the operator, the guy who is getting the approvals in the first place. The compliance is something which is on his it is his responsibility. So we also need to behave responsibly in terms of complying to what is said in the paper. So if that responsibility is taken care of and done with the spirit, then we can be faster in because as Pius, Mr. Srivastava was pointing out, forest approvals takes 3 years, and if it can be a drone aided survey can be the approvals can be taken from DGCA, let us say, if it is that simple, 3-4 weeks, then get, we used to get forest permission or DGC approvals for heliborne survey in my Rio Tinto time. It would take, 1.5 years. It is very, very cumbersome. But drone, if it can be done, 3-4 weeks, and then, the local authorities give permission for a particular purpose in another 2-3 weeks, then you are good to acquire all the data that you need for your, and it saves a lot of time. So those kind of things. And the other point is, I always believe that precision. We have seen the precision, drone aided attacks can happen. So why not the surveys for mineral industry can happen with that kind of precision? It can be. There is no doubt. It's just that it needs to mature, and the right kind of coding to integrate the hardware and software needs to be ensured.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thanks for sharing those details there. I think the one common element in discussion also is the skilling requirement. I think that's something for the ecosystem and the industry to evolve from
Yes.
where we are, given how technology is penetrating. From the questions we're getting from the audience, Piyush sir, I would like to ask this to you, specifically about the Rule 34A amendment that's happened on digital images from drones. But sir, my question there particularly would be that you mentioned the need for software to even visualize this data or to consume this data, to interpret this data, right? And if the regulator now, the Indian Bureau of Mines, under the rule amendment that's happened recently, is asking every lessee, right? From what we understand, over 600 plus mining leases now have to do drone surveys every year. What is your take on how would they consume this? The problem you said for you as a mining operator needing software to analyze this data, would that not be the same case with the regulator? Would they not need a software to analyze this, interpret anything that he's interested to look at? What would be your take on that, sir?
So the Rule 34, that rule says that uh, before submission of any mine plan, you have to also give a land use plan with the orthomosaic as the background. Okay, so this can be generated using ArcGIS and the orthomosaic. Okay, the second point there is every year between April and June, April to July, you have also again you have to give the same land use plan. So this will help the regulator to analyze the plan versus actual. Okay, so they can see the previous one. So probably regulator would like to see only the PDF file, that kind of thing. But if the regulator can also use the data using ArcGIS, he can extract much more. So instead of just using a 2D data, a 3D data would be far more useful. Of course, there is again the capability issue is there with the regulator. So just looking at the map on a PDF versus looking the same map using ArcGIS software, it can create a huge difference. And then using
with ArcGIS, the same problem of the hardware requirement is higher.
Yes,
You would need a cloud system. Would that not be a problem still? Because this is again
that is a problem. That's what I'm saying. The skill is a huge problem, not only for the users, even for the regulator. We require different sets of skill sets, different sets of skills for monitoring.
And tools, I think, right?
Yeah. So there's a huge skill gap, huge skill gap.
Right.
And also just one more point. When you generate the this kind of land use plans, georeferencing becomes critically important. Now we have, without naming anybody, we have so many vendors who have been certified by the regulator to make do the georeferencing, whereas they don't have the people. And so now something which has been georeferenced by an agency which is approved by the government, and he does the wrong job, and the user doesn't also have the capability, and wrong thing gets approved. So even to check the georeferencing is correct or not is fundamentally important. So that is where regulator really have to play a major role, and they have to upgrade their skills.
Right, 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 sir. Uh, would probably want to ask the next question from the audience here from to Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. Questions on where is Indian drone ecosystem and Indian drone technology providers or the end users adoption of drones compared to other countries, right? And are we behind, say, US? Are we on par? What's your take on that, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar? Sir, you are muted, sir. You have to unmute.
Regarding the status of drone applications in Coal India, we have tried to introduce drones in almost all possible application areas in Coal India. Some of the areas I told you also, one of the main areas are volumetric measurements. Apart from that, we have high resolution mapping, contour mapping, terrain mapping, then also inspection of certain things like you have very big long booms of drag lines and inaccessible places like silo tops and all that. So we have done some inspections also, although it's right now a visual inspection through high resolution camera, but we have done those inspections also. Then we are into air quality monitoring through drones also. So these are the areas which we have currently deployed drones. Now, as far as I understand, these areas will come out emerging. The new areas will also keep on emerging. So we will have to see, because drones are basically platforms. So whatever you need to put a suitable sensor on them to collect the data. So we are already having capacity and drones to do all the things in Korea. So it is fully implemented, you can say.
Great. That's great to know, sir.
Hmm.
Right. There's also a question I think privately asked to me here. Opinion on integration of machine learning and drone technology. So my quickly point of view on that would be that I think since drones are capturing visual three-dimensional data, I think there's tremendous scope of machine learning to kind of
Yes.
automate a bunch of things. Which while I don't think it completely eliminates the manual processes, because a surveyor on site knows his mine better than anything else. So I
Right.
think it's still a need to skill people, but I think there is tremendous application of machine learning to automate a bunch of things that that happens on data. Uh, yeah, I think we would like to then I think close this discussion with like a closing remark. I think closing remark mostly on what is the point of in the next 5 years, right? Now, given where we are today, where say from our understanding, maybe the top like a Coal India, like a Tata Steel, and the top miners are using drones today. The regulators are kind of mandating drone surveys now. Uh, uh, Exploration agencies now, GSI, Vedanta is now looking into drones for exploration, and that's where we are today, right? But what is the point of view? Where would be 5 years from now? Would every mine be using drones? Would drone be flying every day on a mine site? I think with that kind of a futuristic point of view, I think we can close this discussion. I would love to start with you, Mr. Sahu.
Look, I would like to see drone being used on a daily basis to from surveillance to utilization and monitoring of the logistics, the safety. Uh, that's one area, things can, there is enough room. The reason to be is already there. It just technology needs to be developed and taken to that level where a continuous work being done, and then the machine learning and everything comes in thereafter to make it more robust. I also would like to see efforts being made where discoveries are being done using drone, because I strongly believe that that's one area where drone can significantly contribute, and then new mineral deposits can be developed thereafter once we make new discoveries using drones. sensibly and wisely.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Sahu. Mr. Piyush.
Yes, I would only say that the most important thing is the skill development, and this is something which is critically important. We are facing challenges there, and the other is we require, the SaaS kind of thing has to be used a lot more. These technologies cannot be used using the local servers or the um, the laptops. Everything has to reside on the cloud, and on the cloud, the licenses which are required will be different from the normal desktop licenses. So, and also integration of the mining software and some of these photogrammetry software requires some more work to be done. And what somebody said about the exploration, I think use of drones in exploration has not been done to the extent it can be done, and that's a very, very valid point. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Rajneesh Kumar.
In this matter about the future use of drones in the next 5 years, drones will definitely keep on being using in various kinds of application. That is true, but I am also keeping my fingers crossed in a way that nowadays for continuous monitoring, there are certain satellites like SAR satellites have been launched, who are capable of giving you 24/7 data on a real-time basis. So 5 year period is a long period for this the high technology areas, where you can have something else which will prove to be very better than this one. Although drones will be used, no doubt, because they have proved themselves, because they have a niche of their own. So small areas and inspections and surveillance and all those things, there is no doubt that they will be used. But for major, just for example, everyday change in terrain where it is taking place, and if you have a way to monitor these on a real-time basis, then it will be a big achievement. And it's now being done, in fact, actually. So
Right.
I am open to see more upcoming technology apart from along with the drones.
Right. Very true. Mr. Jiri.
Yeah, definitely. I believe drones are so useful, especially for looking for certain deposits in the inaccessible terrains, the Himalayan region, where we believe the backthrust portions of a copper porphyry in the subduction process, we might have some locked up areas because we are unable to go there to see the smaller places. There may be a chance of discovering, as we see in the other part, the Tibetan side, the same deposits we have. So inaccessible areas are going to be vital areas. Even normal alteration and photogrammetry that will give geologists to see it without going there. The another part is for diamond exploration. The diamond kimberlite lamprot pipes are very small, 30 meter. So with ground magnetic survey, it's a very tedious process to cover a huge area. If drone magnetic data can pick up the magnetic signatures, because the lamprot kimberlites are highly susceptible magnetically, so they give very high values. If this can be deployed in the known kimberlite fields, yes, it will improve the scope of coming out with some more diamond plugs in the thick soil covered areas, and lots of research and collaboration to increase the scope, and of course the enduration and the instruments which are going to be mounted are very important. There's a huge scope, because in pieces and smaller shortlisted areas, we can have a very high resolution data. I believe this should progress, and definitely in future, we all will be using it. Even GSI will start using it.
Sure. Thanks everyone for the remarks and the discussion overall. I think this was an extremely insightful and a practical take on drones, and where they're today and where they would be in the future. We are Skylark Drones. We provide drone software as a service for mining. Excited to be part of this industry, and to see the industry evolve the way it is. Hope to have more of these kind of discussions again in the near future. Thanks everyone for attending. Thanks everyone on the panel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all speakers for sparing their valuable time. Thank you. Should we close, sir?
Thank you, Mrinal.
Yeah,
Thanks everyone. Bye.